If you are listening on this amazing Thanksgiving Day, you're listening to Men of Abundance, episode 141, with Simone Vincenzi. And today, amongst other things, we're talking about standing out, making yourself known in a crowded space.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
Happy Thanksgiving, Men of Abundance. I am very excited that you are here. If you are here, I hope you're just taking a break from all of the food and everything and not ignoring your family today. I would actually hope that you're not listening to this on Thanksgiving. It's still going to post on Thanksgiving, but I would hope that you're not listening today, that you wait until Friday to catch this episode along with the Pay It Forward Aloha Friday. And for those of you in the other 60 countries around the world, I truly appreciate you listening in, downloading Men of Abundance in your country, and listening and sharing it with all of your fellow men and women in your part of the world. It's truly humbling, and I greatly appreciate it. And I thank all of you who are sharing Men of Abundance with others around the world and leaving your ratings and reviews on whatever podcast player it is that you're listening to. I am truly grateful for that as well, and it just blows my mind how many people are listening to Men of Abundance and sharing it, and what you guys are getting out of these conversations. Thanks for the feedback. Keep them coming. I truly appreciate it. And men, just in case you didn't know, I would love to personally invite you. This is your official invitation to join our Men of Abundance community on Facebook. You can do that by going to menofabundance.com/members, or simply click on the Members Only tab at the top of any one of the pages at menofabundance.com. Once you read that short page, just click on the Join the Community and I will get you access. I look forward to seeing you in there. Now our featured guest today is Simone Vincenzi. This guy is a character. I truly do not remember how I got in contact with him. I think I narrowed it down to I was looking through some TED Talks and I found one of his TED Talks. It just cracked me up. He is so funny, he's so entertaining, and he's really got a good message. And I'm going to have that video, as I mentioned in our conversation, I'm going to have that video linked up in the show notes. You really got to go check it out and see what I'm talking about and see why I felt compelled to introduce Simone to all of you. Now, as you'll hear us discuss later on in the conversation, Simone is the host of Explode Your Coaching Biz show, and by the age of 28, he has been featured in more than 100 podcasts, Sky, The Huffington Post, and shared the stage with Les Brown, Gary Vaynerchuk, Dr. John DeMartini, and many more. Simone has recently been awarded as the Best Speaker in UK 2016, nominated in the House of Parliament as one of the most influential migrant entrepreneurs in the UK, and often acknowledged as one of the best guests every TV and radio can have. Men of Abundance, I introduce you to Simone Vincenzi. Simone, welcome to Men of Abundance, brother. How you doing?
I'm great, Wally, and you? How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Where are you at in the world?
I'm in London, which actually is sunny London today. I'm really excited about it.
That is actually kind of funny because you're in sunny London and I'm in rainy, cloudy Hawaii. It is raining right now.
So it started with a paradox, this interview.
We did, absolutely. And, you know, where I'm at right now, it usually does rain once in a while, but it's a little bit more than usual, actually. So it's kind of funny. You might hear the rain coming down here during this conversation. So, right. You know, I was introduced to you by somebody, and I honestly cannot remember who.
I don't remember who as well.
I don't know who said, hey, you got to take a look at this guy. And I can't remember who it was, but I did, and I watched a couple of your videos, and I saw some of the stuff that you were doing and what you stand for, and I thought, you know what, this is a great guy, really, really good guy. I like what you got going on.
So you didn't run away?
What's that?
You didn't run away?
I didn't, not immediately. We'll see after this. But, you know, before we get too much into the conversation, I like to start out with an attitude of gratitude. What do you have to be grateful for today, Simone?
Absolutely. What I'm grateful for today is for my business partner, actually. My business partner is called Ben Shorter, and today we just had a great meeting to see where the company is going and the group of companies that we have are going. And it's been interesting because we met each other about five years ago, and it was at a free seminar, and we immediately clicked. And after a couple of years, we started a company together, and we went through highs and lows, more lows than highs together. And I'm really grateful for his presence in my life.
Wonderful. Yeah, that is definitely something to be grateful for. What is that accent?
It's a very strong accent. It's an Italian accent.
An Italian.
In fact, some people call me the Italian stallion of the personal development industry here in London.
Hey, that's not a bad name to be plugged on you, man.
No, absolutely. I'm like it. I keep it going.
Yeah, that's a good one. I've been all over Europe. I just have not had the opportunity to go to Italy yet. We're definitely looking forward to going as a family.
Oh, whenever you're going, just let me know. I'll forward you some really good places to go
I
and to
appreciate
visit.
that. We're also looking forward to getting to London as well. I got to go out there and meet up with some of my buddies, Chris Ducker, and Chris is actually in the Philippines, but I know he's getting ready to be in London pretty soon for his event.
Yeah, is that an event in November? Was that November or October?
Yeah, November.
Kind of quite a big event there.
Yeah, huge event he's going to be planning out there. But Mark Asquith is another really good friend of mine that's out there in London. I'm going to have to go visit.
Well, then you have a chance also to visit me as well. So now you have one more friend.
Absolutely. There's another one. Yeah, I can't forget you. Of course not. So before we got started here, I gave a very brief introduction, really your bio, some of the stuff that you've been doing professionally. But here at Men of Abundance, we really like to get to know the man behind the abundance. So if you could, just take a few minutes, share a little bit more personal with us, and let's do that. Let's get a little bit personal.
Absolutely. I guess that everything, it all started when I was 14 years old. And my parents split up when I was 14, and I wanted to prove my mom and I wanted to prove my dad that I could make it on my own. And I started actually my first job in the catering industry as a waiter, because that was the other thing I thought I could do at the time. I didn't like school, so I went to start working in a restaurant, and I absolutely loved that. And by the age of 19, I became the youngest Michelin Star restaurant manager in Europe. And the reason why that happened, it is because of my resilience. So if you're wanting to know a bit more about myself, I think there are three things that are really important to know about me. One is that I don't take no for an answer. So no matter what, if I have something I want to get, I will get it. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how rough is the journey going to be. Of course, I like an easy ride, like everyone does, but I'm not the kind of person that would stop at anything. The other thing that you want to know about me is that I absolutely love speaking. I absolutely love public speaking. I remember doing an event with Les Brown in front of 1,000 people, and I felt at ease. It was my space. I love being on stage. I'm a showman. I mean, I do breakdancing on stage. I beatbox with a didgeridoo. I do all this sort of crazy stuff, and I absolutely love speaking. And in particular, what I love about speaking is empowering people, and in this case, empower people to start successful coaching and speaking businesses. But depending from the audience I'm in front of, is going to be about helping them achieve what they want in life and learn something that they didn't know before. And then the other thing that you want to know about me is the last one, is that I absolutely love hummus. So I'm Italian and I'm vegan, so I'm a bit weird on that side, and I cannot live without hummus. Absolutely not. I actually have a T-shirt which says "Got hummus," and that's about me, man.
Well, you know what? We have a lot in common, quite a bit in common. One, I don't take no as an answer. I'm very, very persistent as well. But you know what? You have shared the stage with one of my heroes. One of these days I'm going to have a face-to-face conversation with the biggest smile in the industry, the biggest laugh.
Yeah.
If you hear this man laugh, Les Brown, you cannot, it's like watching a baby laugh. You can't help but laugh. That man is so infectious. I absolutely love him. And Simone, when I saw you, when you said you're going to rap with a didgeridoo, I said, this man is out of his mind. And when I saw you play it like it's supposed to be played, and then you rapped on a didgeridoo, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. This man is not doing this in front of everybody. And it was fabulous. I'm easily amused, I have to admit. My wife always says, I love watching, like America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, Australia's Got Talent. I just love watching those things. I love watching people do these things. And you should be on London's Got Talent or something, man, because it was amazing.
I'm actually applying for it.
That's
in my
awesome.
plan to apply for. So watch this space. Did you watch it? Did you watch it on the TEDx talk that I did?
I think it was the TEDx talk, because I watched so many TEDx talks, and that might be another reason why I found you, is because of TEDx. I watch a lot of TEDx. I listen to TEDx podcasts, but I love watching them as well for that reason. But yeah, I'm definitely going to have that video linked up in the show notes at menofabundance.com so everybody else can go there and watch that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It was a great moment, and in particular, it is a great metaphor that means for people to stand out and be themselves. I think that in life we can all do things in two different ways: the traditional way and our ways.
Yeah.
And that's my way of playing the didgeridoo, and it represents for me to be able to be different and not conform to the norm of an industry or to the norm of society or to what is expected from me by other people that doesn't resonate with me. So that's the meaning of it.
And seriously, that is a very, very serious message that you're sharing there, because so many people they just want to follow what the norm is. It's the same old adage. I always bring this up. One of the most common ones is go to school, get a great education, get a good job, blah, 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 that whole thing. But there's many other things too. Like, so many people in your family never left the town you live in or the state,
Absolutely.
let alone on vacation, but to actually say, this place sucks. I don't like it here. It's not who I am. I can't find the job that I want. I can find work, but not the work that I want. You know what? You're not a tree. Get up and leave. Move somewhere else. Move to another country. I mean, like we talked about Chris Ducker earlier. Chris is from London, lives in the Philippines. I've talked to other folks that are, born and raised in Australia, live in Japan. Just up and moved their whole family to Japan. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. I live out here in Hawaii, where people always want to come on vacation, but seldom do. You don't have to stay in one place. And I love that message that you share.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, you're this happy, exciting guy, and I can tell that you love to speak. I saw you speak a couple times on video, not in person yet. That day will come. But I know that because of the many, many conversations that I've had, and from my own experience and many books that I've read, that anybody who's moving forward in life has kick in the gut moments. And sometimes those kick in the gut moments are what make people get up and move forward in life, unfortunately. Yeah. But that's, good for them in the long run. I would love to hear one of those kick in the gut moments from you and make us really feel that.
My kick in the gut moment, I had many kicks in the gut moment, but my kick in the gut moment, it actually was when I got engaged. And I'll tell you why. It was an happy moment, a really happy moment, absolutely. It was the best moment of my life after the wedding day, probably. And she said yes. And I think that what happened, I realized that I really now had to pull my stuff together, not to use another word, because I was a bit all over the place, and the business that I was running was a bit all over the place. We were always like 1 month before bankruptcy every single month, and it was so stressful. I used to overeat. I used to not sleep at night, and I wasn't able to provide for my wife to be, because I wasn't even able to afford paying a rent together, just because the business has just enough money to sustain itself, and maybe a couple of £100 for me on top of that. And I remember that that moment, that night, I looked at myself in a mirror and I said, I have to do something different. I have to do something different. Things cannot keep going this way. And within 12 months, I turned a 10 grand a year business into a 140K business.
Wow.
And that was the kick in the gut in that moment for me, was the fact of I'm not alone anymore. I have to care about someone else, and I want to be able to provide for her and to care for her. And because I'm so competitive, I couldn't stand the fact of not being enough. That's what I found. I didn't want to feel I wasn't enough for her, because I loved her so much and I didn't want to lose her. Yeah. And I know that a lot of people had a much lower kick in the guts. And you know what? I've been homeless, right? I mean, I lost my first business. I lost everything. I got homeless. But that moment for me was a bigger kick in the gut than when I was sleeping on the street. Just because it was not just myself in the equation. There was someone else in.
That's a very good point. I'm glad that you brought that up too, because it's all about perspective. And that's why I say, when I talk about this kick in the gut moment, everybody's kick in the gut moment is their kick in the gut moment. And some of them have been through what others would perceive as an even worse experience. For instance, being homeless, living on the street. But as you said, that sucked. That wasn't fun at all. But it was just you. You had yourself to be concerned with, and yourself to feed every day and find shelter for every day. But when you have somebody else that you have caring for you, or that you have to care for, and it cares for you and is depending on you as well, as a team, it does take it to a different level. And
absolutely,
and I feel the same way when it comes to every time I talk to somebody and somebody contacts me and says, hey, I want you to, coach me into, getting healthy, or coach me in living an abundant life, or, just have a conversation with me. I take that decision on whether or not if I'm going to help them very, very seriously, because it's going to require my time and my emotions, because I do get emotionally involved in these people's lives. And that's why really I decide, it's not always easy to make that decision. I have to interview them and talk with them and stuff like that. And that's what you do. You're into coaching as well. How did all of this evolve into you starting to coach?
Well, I was at that moment, I was already a coach, but it's just that the business wasn't working. So that evolved in really mastering the business side of coaching.
And how did that look? What did you have to do that?
Before, I think I was playing. And I found this right now because I work with a lot of coaches and speakers to teach them how to run six-figure coaching and speaking businesses. And I think that the mistake that I was doing, and I see a lot of people making, is it was a hobby. I wasn't treating it as a business. I didn't have a plan. I was all over the place. I thought that, I'm just going to find some clients, put in some pretty pictures on Facebook, going to some networking events. But I didn't have products, I didn't have services, I didn't have a clear marketing strategies, I didn't know how to sell the product effectively. So what I was doing, I was running a business lacking all the business skills. And that's when I said, you know what? If I need to do something different, I got to learn those skills. And at that point in particular, I decided that I want to become a great speaker. I want to become a great speaker. That was the first skill that I needed to learn, that I really wanted to master. Speaking from seminars, selling from the stage. And I ran more than 500 speaking gigs in 3 years from that point. It was insane. It was intense. But that's how I turned my business around. Because I focused on, I said, okay, what do I want to do? I want to become a great speaker. I want to communicate. I want to be able to influence. So I can really show people the value that I had, because it's not that I didn't have didn't have any value. I knew my stuff. I was a great coach. It's just that people didn't know it yet, right? And I needed to find a way to get those people to experience and to believe how great I was, so that they could invest in me, and then I could work with them and then change their lives. So that's what I did. I took my business seriously, and I said, that's what I'm going to learn. That's what I'm going to do.
So what was you doing before that, before you started coaching?
I was involved in restaurants, and I used to manage restaurants since a young age. Yeah, I started working my first restaurant at 14. I hated school, and I found that I absolutely loved working in a restaurant. I absolutely loved that. Talking to people, it was fast-paced. I was able to express myself and my personality. It was brilliant. And in particular, I had the goal that I wanted to become the best waiter in my region. And that's how I ended up managing a Michelin Star restaurant in Italy at the age of 19, and then receive an offer to work at the age of 21 in another Michelin Star restaurant in London. And that's how I'm in London. That's how I moved to London. Someone saw me in a restaurant and said, hey, I want you to work for me. And I said, okay. And then I said, where is it? And he said, it's in London. Okay, tell me more. It was a better pay. I had more days off. I was 21 at the time. It's like, what the frick am I doing in Italy? It's like, let's go and move to London. It's like the big city there. It's like the big apple of Europe, right? And then from that moment, at the age of 22, I already had an 8 years career. It's a bit crazy, but starting at 14, at the age of 22, I already had an 8 years career. And I went at 22 through a midlife crisis. It's a bit funny to say, but at 22 I had my midlife crisis, and I wanted to change, but I didn't know what to do and what to change. And I started attending seminars, and something clicked. And I remember I was in one seminar sitting on the front row. I was always on the front row taking notes. And I had almost like a haha moment. And a voice inside me said, this is your place. But not the place on a chair, the place there on the stage. And I never felt so certain in my life that that was my calling. And what happened, rest is history.
Right, yeah. And, you know, my wife and I watch quite a few documentaries on stuff, and we do watch a lot in reference to cooking and the whole Michelin Star, and that's extremely stressful. That's a team effort. They always highlight the chef, that, you know, the head chef and all this type of stuff, but that is truly a team effort, and it's extremely stressful from our point of view. I can't imagine. That's when you said you went through 2 midlife crises, I can think, well, I'm wondering if that had anything to do with it, because that is a stressful position to be in. I was a waiter years ago for a 5-star restaurant. Many years ago, before I joined the military. I met people like Martin Sheen and other places like this, and it was fast paced, but we had a good time. But when you're shooting, when you're going after that star, that is it. There's nothing else in life.
Absolutely. And you need to keep the standard high. And the reality is that even if for one night, even if the chef or the kitchen doesn't deliver properly, you can always mask it with a great service. And you can have the client have a great time with your service. And that's why a lot of people, when they go to restaurants, actually, they don't really value the role of a waiter. But if you think about it, is what the staff there is what makes you come back to the restaurant. Because if you have a great meal, but you have an awful time with the service, you're not going to come back. If you have an okay meal and the service is great, then you're going to come back.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with that from a professional and a personal standpoint. Absolutely. So I'd like to hear some good news stories at this point. Some of the clients, you don't have to mention any names or companies or anything like that, but what are some companies that you worked with or individuals that you'd be able to share their stories with that you've been able to affect?
Absolutely. I was working with a client recently, and he contacted me and he said, I want you to help me grow a six-figure coaching business. And I said, okay, I'm here. I can help you. And I said, okay, where are you at? Where are you starting? Well, I never run this kind of business before. Okay, all right. And we took about 9 months. And in 9 months working together, we did every single strategy we could find. And unfortunately, it seemed that we couldn't find anything that could fit him. And he was working really hard. And the strategies that we were doing were working, but not as well as we wanted. And I remember one thing that we both never gave up. We both never gave up. And I think that's what's beautiful about a partnership with when you work with a coach or a mentor, that you're a team. You're there together. And the reality is we can all have goals and dreams, but we don't know how long it's going to take to achieve them, because challenges are going to be there in the way. But we kept working together. And he called me a few months ago and he said, man, I'm on fire. I said, oh, tell me, I haven't heard from you for a while. I said, yeah, man, I made 50K the last 3 months. I'm like, whoa, yeah. Okay, that's really nice. That's one. Then I work in a company in business development. They hired me when they were 120K, and within 4 months I helped them to get to 800K. And I opened for them a pub, a restaurant, a small chain of health food stores, and in return I got a percentage of that company. And if I can say one more thing, there is another person that, because I think we all forget the charity work that we do sometimes when we're talking about clients, but for me, even the work that I do for charity is clients. And there are people that because of their health issues, they might not be really suited to run a business, in particular to run a startup, because health is crucial. You need to be focused, you need to be there, you need to go there, you need to get the client, you need to market. And if you don't have energy, that's not going to work. But there is one of our members that she has a quite severe health condition and she went through a very tough time. But she was able to start her business anyway because of the support of the community, and because even if she didn't have the money, we allowed her to come along with a consensus of all the team, just because she could have that place to stay, to grow her business and to get their dreams come true. And that has no price for me.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. I absolutely love that one, because you're taking somebody who has all odds against her and a team is coming together. And I say this all the time, like we say when we're raising our children, it takes a village. Well, it takes a village to raise a business too. A business is a baby. It's got to be nurtured. Yeah. It's got to be loved. It's got to be attended to constantly. And it does take a village, and you cannot do something like that by yourself. Those who have failed miserably, and it's just so sad to see that business die and that baby die. It really is. So I commend you for that. That's for all of them. But I love that last one. That's my favorite.
Thank you.
So,
and
go ahead.
Yeah, it's because the power is in community. The power is in the community. And that's why what we do with GTEX, I mean, the very name of the company, which is GTEX, stands for Growing Together Exponentially. That's what GTEX stands for. Because we believe that together we can achieve what we are not able to achieve by ourselves. And that's why we do what we do.
Wonderful. So, Simone, at this point, we are going to pay it forward to our abundant leaders. You ready to do that?
Absolutely.
Outstanding. So, share 1 to 3 actionable steps that our abundant leaders can take today.
Okay, definitely. Number 1 is to have fun. I probably have heard that a lot of time by many guests, but guys, if you want to have an happy life, do what makes you happy. I think people are looking, what's the secret of happiness? Do what makes you happy. That's it. It's quite simple. For example, I love playing basketball. I cannot live without playing basketball, and if I don't play 3-4 times a week, I don't feel the same. And doesn't matter how busy I am, I always carve that time for me to just do something that makes me happy for no reason. That makes me happy for business reason, other reason. I just do it because it makes me happy for no reason. So that's number one. Number two is learn how to sell yourself, because I believe that everyone has gifts and talents and skills, but if no one knows what are your gifts, talents, and skills and what you can do for other people, then you're gonna die with those gifts. And you cannot really make an impact in the world in the way you want to make or you were destined to make. So that's number two. Sell yourself, sell your gifts, sell your products, sell your services, because just in this way, but going out there and talking to people about how great you are, that's how they're going to believe how great you are. If it makes sense, right? And then the number three for me for an actionable step is take time with people that you love, because they're not going to be there forever.
Absolutely.
And is a more reminder for me than for anyone else, I think, in this moment, because I can be a bit of a workaholic. A bit, actually. I am a workaholic. Let's put it this way. I could work 20 hours a day because I'm so passionate about what I do that I would not do anything else. But I was reading a book recently, which I don't remember actually, or I was listening to a podcast recently, and it came out with this concept like those people that you love, they're not going to be there forever. So don't take them for granted. So now I'm spending time, even if my mom and my dad, they live in another country, I'm calling them. And before I could spend months without calling them just because I was busy working. And right now I'm focusing and choosing time to connect with them, because I think that the quality of our life depends from the quality of our relationships. And relationships take time to build. Otherwise they lose their power. They lose the gel, the light that keeps them together. And that's my third step. Spend more time with the people that you love.
Excellent. Yeah, and sometimes it is important that we do have to be reminded of that from time to time, and that's why it's important to have those mentors around that are not only helping you in your business, but also are going to help you pay attention to your personal life while they're helping you with your business. I think those are the best guys to have around.
Indeed. I agree with you.
So what daily habits make up the biggest impact in your life?
Number one is selling yourself. And I cannot stress enough the importance of selling in every aspect of our lives. I mean, I made my fortune, my career, my businesses because I was able to sell myself. I met my wife. I got married because I was able to sell myself. That was probably the toughest sales of my life, but the best sales of my life. And by selling yourself and keep time daily where you can connect with clients. In particular, I'm talking to entrepreneurs, but even if you're not an entrepreneur and you are in a job and you want a better position, then spend time selling yourself to the people that are making the decision to give you that promotion or to give you that place abroad that you want. Or if they are clients, then they are going to be potential clients and people that are going to become clients. So that's number one. I'm always selling. Every single day. There is no day that I'm not selling, apart from my day off. And even if I have a day off, I might meet someone at a basketball court that I can sell my services to. And then it's just me. And then another habit which impacts me a lot is, I think it's taking care of my health. And not everyone needs to become vegan. I'm not that kind of vegan that says, if you eat meat, then you're going to burn in hell. I'm not the kind of person. But eating with consciousness and know what you're putting in your body and is equally important as what you're putting in your mind. And I'm saying this because I struggled a lot with anorexia. I went through bulimia. I went through a massive overeating. I even went to Overeaters Anonymous, which is the overeating version of Alcoholics Anonymous. And my journey with food has been another of one of my kick in the gut, if you want to call it this way. And I realized how important and crucial is nurturing your body in the right way, because that's the fuel for your car, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt, that is very, very important. I feel the same way. So what are you reading or listening to now that you'd recommend to our abundant leaders, and why?
I love podcasts. I love being interviewed on podcasts. I run my own podcast, and I love listening to podcasts. And the podcast that I love right now is called Masters of Scales. Is from Reid Hoffman, which is the co-founder of LinkedIn, and is about how huge businesses like Facebook, Google, Airbnb, and other businesses, they started growing and they scaled. But it says share the journey before they scale. And I think that's what I love, because it makes it tangible for me and for my business. And it has great examples and case studies and stories from these giants that right now are transforming the world that we live in. And it makes me dream bigger. But it makes me dream bigger being grounded. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So that's Masters of Scale with Reid Hoffman.
Yeah, and that's perfect for where you're at right now. I point out all the time, that sounds like a great podcast that I would love to listen to. And I'll have that linked up in the show notes, by the way, at Men of Abundance. But right now, just for an example, and for the guys out there listening, you have to pay attention to what you're reading and where you want to be, like where your goals are at, your immediate goals, the ones you're working on right now. And if that podcast is one that will get you there, great. But like, for instance, if you're an entrepreneur just starting out, you probably don't want to be really focusing a whole lot on scaling to that size. You want to focus more on the startups, right? So I'm not saying don't listen to it. My point is I would have, a couple years ago, I probably would have just went straight over and subscribed to that podcast and started listening to it. But then I would have been all over the place, and I wouldn't have been focusing on my goals at that point in time. Because I like how you said that, the one you like listening to right now, because the podcast I was listening to a year ago are not the podcast I'm listening to today, because I'm at a different point in my life and I have different goals.
Absolutely.
Right now. So thanks for sharing that.
I agree with you, and I think it's a great point what you made right now, because it's about focus. It's about I think that a lot of people right now in our society become learning junkies. They feel good just because they learn one new thing. Whether it makes a difference or not in their life, that doesn't matter. But when you study and when you listen, as you said, study with purpose. So look at what are your goals, what is it you want to learn, and why do you want to learn it. For example, for me, when I started, I said I wanted to become a great public speaker. That's why actually I won the best speaker in the UK in 2016 last year. And I started running seminars, and everything I was listening and consuming and reading was about public speaking, not Masters of Scales.
Right. Yeah. Very good point. Exactly. That's exactly my point. Of all the people that you've talked to thus far, what do you feel that holds most people back from truly living a life of abundance?
I'm going to repeat myself here once again, but I hope that my message will go straight into your subconscious mind, guys. Is selling yourself. Is again selling yourself. I haven't never found something as powerful to live a life of true abundance of selling yourself, because that's my opinion, right? For me, abundance means being able to do what I love, when I love, and have what I want. That's what true abundance means to me, where I can be happy and have no limits, and I can not only have everything I want, but in particular I can be whoever I want, and I feel free to do that. And selling myself allow me to do that, allow me to achieve this objective. I'll give you an example. There was a night where I lost everything. Absolutely lost everything, and it was I almost faced homelessness again, because the business still didn't work out, and I was supposed to go and live with my girlfriend, and the day before going and living together, we split up. So I found myself without a house, without a place to live, without a job, because I quit my job to move city with her, and the business didn't work out. And I went the day after to the shop where I was going and buying my organic vegetables, and I convinced that person to give me a place to live, because somehow during the conversation gave me a house. He had a house, and he said, okay, you can come and sleep at my place for free. And I slept there and lived there rent-free for about 2.5 years. And then I was able to sell myself in a way to become a consultant for that company, because I knew I was able to get them. They wanted to open restaurants and pubs. So then I knew that I could help them in that way. And then suddenly I got that company from 120K to 800K while living in a house without paying any rent. And because it was a health food store, I was having my organic vegetables and food for free. Why? Because I was able to sell myself. And I think in every stage, that's what can create abundance in our life.
Wonderful. Yeah, very powerful. I appreciate you sharing that and sharing what living a life of abundance mean to you. It means so much. So we're going to close this up, Simone, and before we let you go, what did we not talk about that you'd love to ensure that our men of abundance get from our conversation today?
A thing that we haven't talked about much is about sharing your journey with other people. We tapped in talking about briefly about communities in the business term, having a business community and talking about the business as a baby. I think that a lot of people right now, they're getting more and more isolated, and they live in the illusion of connection through social media. And as I said, the first word was illusion. Because when you are talking through a screen, yes, it's connection, but it's never going to be as a deep connection as someone that you meet in person, someone that when you need really help, it can be there with you physically, not a Skype call, but someone that can turn up at your door and say, I know you need help. What can I do for you? Or when you need help, someone that you can knock at their door and say, hey, can you please help? I just need to have a chat with you. And a lot of people are moving away from it, but guys, please connect with the people around you and create a meaningful relationship in your business and in your life. And believe in this way, you can feel truly abundant because you will never feel alone.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely love that. Thanks for sharing that. And other than gtex.org.uk, I'm going to have that all linked up in the show notes. What are some other ways that we'd be able to get in touch with you?
Our best way is to listen to my podcast. If you are listening to this podcast, I'm assuming that you like listening to podcasts. So you can, if you want to grow a successful coaching and speaking business, you can check on iTunes, Explode Your Coaching Biz Show. So it's Explode Your Coaching Biz Show. And that's where you can join my podcast. And if you're on Facebook, you can join our Facebook group, which is Explode Your Coaching Biz.
Excellent. I'm definitely going to have that linked up. And I've been checking it out myself. I'm loving what I'm hearing. And the reason why I'm listening to that right now, guys, is what did I just say? I'm wanting to explode my coaching business. So these are the type of things that I'm focusing on right now and listening to. I'm doing two things right now. I've been over the last year gathering information for my book. I said when I get to 100 episodes, I will have more than enough information for my book, and I'm almost there. I'm just a couple episodes away from 100. I've got well over 140 conversations recorded, but about 97 posted at the time that we're talking right now today. And so I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about learning more about exploding my business. So I'm going to have exploding my coaching business, and I'm going to have all of that linked up in the show notes. Simone, I really appreciate your energy. I appreciate your time, your thoughts of wisdom, and sharing your abundant life with us.
Thank you very much, Wally, for inviting me on your show. It's been a pleasure, and I love the interview.
My pleasure, man. Now go out and live your life of abundance, and aloha. All right, man, that's all I have for you today. For all of you men in the United States, I hope you had an amazing Thanksgiving, spent all of that quality time with your family, was not listening to this podcast. I hope you're catching this the next day or later on in the weekend. And you know it, I want every single one of you to go out and live your life of abundance, and make sure to pay it forward.
That's all for today, Abundance Leaders. For more about our guests and the powerful information we shared with you today, be sure to sign up for our mailing list at menofabundance.com. We appreciate your time and look forward to hanging out with you on our next episode. So until then, be sure to pay it forward and live your life of abundance.